Hello, beautiful souls. You are listening to Starfire, Elemental Alchemy and Zodiac Power Podcast.
where we are dedicated to transforming lives through the fusion of elemental alchemy and zodiac wisdom. Our mission is to empower individuals to harness their inner strength and cosmic alignment, creating profound shifts in energy and unlocking the true power of their astrological and elemental essence. My name is Cami, and I am one of your hosts.
And I'm Tracy, your other host. Let's get to it. Hello, Cami. We're talking
Mm.
about Taurus.
Hello, Miss Tracy. I'm so excited to hear about Taurus today. Taurus is, for me, very slow, very all about comforts, all about love and indulgence and loving to eat food and pleasure. That is one of the things that shows up for me for Taurus. What about you? What do you just off the cuff feel with Tauruses?
I love Tauruses. In my younger years, I always felt like I learned a lot from Taurus men, which is interesting when we're going to talk more about Taurus because that's no mistake. And then I'm not surprised that my son is a Taurus because he is definitely teaching me a lot. And I feel very rooted and grounded with Tauruses. I feel, yes, very good, very comfortable. I love Tauruses. They feel really good. They are fixed earth. So I don't think we talked about this in Aries, and I'd love to bring it to everybody's awareness, but we have four elements behaving in three different modes. Four times three is what gives us our 12 signs. The first sign of every season is a cardinal mode, an element in a cardinal mode. Every middle month of the season is an element in a fixed mode. If you think about it like fixed, right in the middle, just securely there. And then the third month of every season is an element in the mutable mode. And so I break it down. This is my own way of understanding that the cardinal mode asks of the element, how do I have purpose with this element? The fixed mode asks, how do I embody this element? And the mutable mode asks, how do I expand upon this element? And it makes sense that this cardinal would be like when we're talking about water is the flowing water. It's on its way. A water will find its easiest path down and straight, right? It will carve things out cardinal. It starts off the season. Fixed is like ice, right? It is there, it is structured, it's unwavering, it is rooted, it's fixed, it's not going anywhere, right in the middle of the season. And then mutable is like steam, right? Where all of a sudden we're expanding upon something, we're growing, we're moving, we're opening up. And so we are moving into the next season, right? That's when things start to change because we always feel a little bit of that next season like 2 weeks before, 2 or 3 weeks before the season starts because it's mutable. We can start to see the change. We can start to leave behind our old form. So with Taurus being fixed earth, it is like the fixiest of all elements to be earth because earth is already so solid and fixed. And so now you have a Taurus, that bull who's just going to dig down deep and be so stubborn. It's not moving, it's unwavering. And so we have two sides of that, right? We have really strong, we have dependable, but then we also have unwilling to change and unflexible and sometimes limiting within their own limits of trying to stay where they're at.
Wow. Fixed, like that is literally the standing of a bull, like and with the nostrils. Like I just saw the image of that, of like I'm not moving. I am going to stay right here and I'm going to fight right like this, solid. So that is really yeah. I like that.
Really cool. And it's the fire or the element of earth. What can you elaborate on earth
Well,
itself?
so Earth is about like practicality. So it's about the things that you're like in life. When we think about Earth, it is what are you doing? Like your ideas were all up in here, right? Those are your air sign. We're going to talk more about that later. But the practicality of doing something. So when me and you set up to start doing this podcast, We talked, made an appointment, we sat down, we did our calendar, we said this is when these dates are going to happen, this is what we need to have in that to make this podcast happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the practical part of Earth. That is the getting shit done, paying your taxes, making sure that your home is tended to, your vacuumed, your laundry is done, your dishes are done. It's super practical. It's about duty, it's about responsibility, it's about the material activation of the body, of what is it that we are doing as a human being on this planet. It is more, the essence of Earth is grounded. A lot of people, again, what we just said about the fire signs is that a lot of people that are in the fire signs are going to feel very active. They might have to, run marathons. They might be biking. They might be doing those activities are a natural space for them. People that are in the earth element, their natural state might be to do walking meditations, to be grounded, to do yoga, to do something that is connected to the earth. Eating Ayurvedically potentially could be something that is grounded and rooted into the earth. And so they are very much about the creature comforts of the land. Of maybe they are into gardening, maybe they are into tending and doing something with the tilling in the land. That is what I always get with my earth people, are very practical. They're able to stay focused a lot of times. And especially with a fixed sign, right? It is way more focused than those mutable signs that can go all over the place, right?
Right. And I feel you can even see Taurus bodies. My son is definitely has a Taurus body. Like he is just dense. He is heavy. He can eat anything. He just is solid in his physical form. And in the tarot, the pentacles is the suit that represents Earth. And I always like to think to myself, it's everything in the 3D, our bodies and everything we do with our body. Right. And so also in the Pentacles, we're talking about money and stuff because money is such a huge 3D attribute of Earth, the currency. But I love that. And so moving more into Taurus, what is the ruling planet?
The ruling planet is Venus, I believe, correct?
It is. And
Isn't it?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I have in my notes
yeah.
here. I couldn't find it, but that's so interesting because Taurus to me, maybe because I mentioned I always had these interactions with Taurus men, right? And so it feels kind of masculine to be really stubborn, but it's such a woman thing. It's such a female, feminine thing to stand your ground and be unwavering and stubborn.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like.
and I agree with that. And the other part of the Taurus men that I know too that have Venus as the ruling planet, that's because that is the feminine side of the masculine, right? And so a lot of Taurus men that I know are all about pleasure and taking care of and tending to and are very good lovers. Like that is one of the things that I've heard about Taurus men is that they can be very passionate, and they are about beauty and about like the reverence of the other. And so I love that with Venus being their ruling planet. The other thing I wanted to say about that is that this is the second house. Venus rules the second house in astrology. It is all about pleasure. So pleasure with love, with money, with self-worth, with harmony, with beauty, emotional attachments. The transit is 23 days, so it's about and so it transits every 23 days, going around our suns. So that is kind of fun to know also that Venus comes around quite often in our life. So we can always remember or rely on, we have that ability to attach to that energetic of Venus, and which is about the love and self-worth and all of that. So that was what I had.
I love that. What do I have about? Then that is what Taurus, that's the the statement I have.
I have.
I have.
I have.
Because it's 3D world. Very yin, feminine energy. When it's funny because looking back at these Taurus men that I feel like I've learned from, it was always the I remember one particular dude who was a Taurus, and his dad explaining to me like back in the day how the earth actually goes around the sun and how it's actually tilted a little bit, and that's why we have like the long nights in the summer and the short days in the winter and all that kind of stuff. Like it was blowing my mind. But what's so interesting is if we look at the tarot, Taurus is associated with the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is card number 5 of the major arcana, and it represents initiation into sacred knowledge and religious authority. And that would definitely be what I felt like I would learn from these Taurus men. That's why I always felt like I was learning from them. I wasn't, maybe I should have gotten into bed with some of them now. Now, hearing what you said, missed opportunities in my Pisces brain talking astrology. I needed to be more in my Aries. Who knew? Who knew? But that is what I would always learn is like learning about life, learning about spirituality. And so I see that makes so much sense that I would have those interactions with Taurus men who I felt were nurturing me and educating me and like raising me up to have this beautiful knowledge of the sacred wisdom.
Yeah, that is super funny that you said that too, because with the second house, it's all about values. And so it
Mm.
is about what you value, the hidden talents or self-esteem, about how to, how to keep your money, how to keep your home, how to have, alignment for future selves. And so I think with that, like you got to have a really great interaction with Taurus men to show you the way, and to show you that you can have value in something maybe other than possession, other than money, because that is something that definitely comes in to play. But the Hierophant, so I'm so excited about all of this with Taurus now, because I'm like, I've always just thought of them as being stubborn and grounded, and very slow, and don't really give me a lot of activation. But now with what we're all talking about, like it feels like there's this beautiful activation that we can have within Taurus. Do you know any female Tauruses that you are in relationship with that could potentially find a feminine aspect on this?
So I one of my best friends is a Taurus, and she is an earth goddess. And she you made a note, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so her. And I can't remember what you said. Oh, just liking to be comfy, likes to be comfy, but or the walking meditation. Like she is classic for being in nature, doing the walking meditations. Like that's so her, and she's all into the crystals. And I mean, it's Brienne. I was doing retreats with her. So and her and Amanda like brought me in to do these retreats. And so talk about a spiritual awakening that she was part of the initiation process for me, allowing me to come and be a part of what she had started with Amanda and our other friend. And learning so much from her. She's a sound goddess, and I think really inspired me to get more on my sound bowls and using my voice and just going and doing it, and the value of holding sacred space. So definitely she fits, like ticks all the boxes of just beautiful Taurus energy. And I do like it because I do feel in this moment I am kind of adhering more to this feminine Venus nature. Venus was kind of a surprise for me. And this is what's so fun about astrology. It's like I've got the notes. I've obviously learned this before, but we never stop learning. We never stop taking this information in from a new perspective. What's going on now? Because we all have all planets and all constellations in our chart that are affecting us in ways. And then as we're trying to we have that blueprint who's also trying to deal with whatever is currently happening, and it just gets tricky. And that's why learning about this stuff, is so good because it lets us be a little bit more, have a little bit more humility with ourselves, because we go, oh, now I understand why I had that relationship with that person. I understand why I felt that way over that season or during that month. And we, it can help us get off our back a little bit, which is the whole point. Self-love.
Yeah, yeah. Melissa is also a Taurus. And so for her to be yoga and tending to gardening and doing things that are very, like one of the things that I always say with Taurus women that I have met, they are the beating of the drum. They are the ones that are consistently doing what needs to be done in the 3D realm, that I just hear the drum beat that is the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And so it's just this like really beautiful, nurturing space, and not that stubborn. I do know there are definitely some stubbornness that come along with Taurus, um, and it takes a lot longer. What I have noticed, this is just my opinion, is that it takes a lot longer for a Taurus to be able to make a choice or change their way of being or their ideas, because they have to do a lot of research to then determine that it's safe for them to go outside of that. So they stay very stubborn in what they know, because they don't. They're a fixed sign. So
It's fixed.
it's a fixed sign. So just again, if you are in a fixed sign, or if you are a fixed Taurus, know that that is a beautiful part about you, and not to be mad at the fact that it doesn't, you might know someone that can make a decision and go tomorrow to sell their home and move somewhere else, or you are going to say, no, I need to have all of my ducks in a row. I need to make sure that I have mapped out all of my financials. I have, learned that I need to have, every single box checked before I make a decision. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to research it all so that I can confirm that this is going to be the place that I'm going. Just know that that is who you are, at the core of who you are, and that's okay. And to fall in love with that part, like that is what astrology, that is what these, all of the stuff that we're talking about, that has been my guiding light, is to fall in love with the parts of me that I have not always loved, because they have been something, my Heidi flightiness, my air, like, time doesn't exist in my world, and I always used to get really angry at myself for that. And now I'm falling in love with and realizing that that's where my, again, this is a other part of a conversation, but it's, my Mercury is in air. My Mercury is in an Aquarius. And so I'm all over the place. And that is okay. And I don't have to compare myself to someone else. So the Taurus, the practical, the grounded, ones of us that are beating the drum, that are here to make changes, but that are slow and methodical, that is just who you are. And that's beautiful. And I love that.
I like how you put that. I want to expand because we were saying, I think in Aries, you're the star sign, or the star constellation is showing how we process energy. So how does a fixed earth sign, a bull, deal with the energy of Venus, with all of her art and music and gracefulness and feminine and nurturing? How does a bull with his foot in the ground deal with something that is Venus, that is very organic and in the moment and artsy and flowy? And when we look at the Hierophant, card number 5 that we said it's associated with, it's the healing that comes from challenging dynamics and facing patterns that don't align with our truth.
Oh,
That
wow.
that is the opportunity to grow. You're the bull. So how do you make sense when things are not like you? You are so fixed and rooted. Whereas people like us, the mutable water, we're always asking ourselves, how can we contain ourselves? How can we get this shit show under wraps? whereas whereas the Taurus has their shit under wraps. It knows what it wants. It's the change and the difference and the growth that is hard. And so it's allowing that bull to soften. And and ease up on their stance, knowing that through that hardness of not standing your ground so much and being able to change and adjust is where Tauruses have the biggest opportunity to grow. And that's what the Hierophant is all about. It's challenging us with, what do you believe in? What is your spirituality? How are you making sense of these big questions? What is right for you? And that question in the background that goes, how rooted in it are you, and how much could we get you to change your ideals? Right? It's the
Yeah.
battle of the Taurus, when to stay firm and when to recognize it's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, what I just saw was boundaries. Is that this is a really good place for boundaries and boundary work to kind of probably Taurus or probably fixed Earth sign to have a pretty good wrap on boundaries, but they might be very firm in them and they might not waver. And so this is that opportunity to potentially say, is this my hard line, or is this something that I'm willing to, have a different conversation about? Like it just,
Right.
yeah.
And if we look, so it also, I do want to say there's a little association with the Empress, the card, the Empress, card number 3, which is the mommy card, which makes sense that back in Aries, we learned that Mars rules Aries, and Mars is, they're associated with Emperor, which is the daddy card. And then we have Venus ruling Taurus, and they're associated with the Empress. We have Venus and Mars kind of with this mommy daddy. But more so, I think it's the Venus element rep that's tying into the Empress card, the because Venus is very much the Empress, and just because Venus rules Taurus, we get a little association. But I think the Hierophant is really more connected to the actual Taurus and the bull. But I want to talk a little bit about the minor arcana and how Taurus represents itself in these different ways. So minor arcana, pentacles, we've got the 5, 6, and 7. 5, 6, and 7 of the pentacles. The 5 of pentacles is Mercury and Taurus. Mercury is all about communication, in and out. It is the first planet from the sun. So it's just kind of that, like, that go between. It's linked to, who was it, Hermes, who was like half god, half mortal, and could go between the two worlds, right? So it's connected to the lungs. It's the in, it's the out, it's the breathing, the communication. I give, you give, the whole coming around, right? Well, in the 5 of pentacles, it's all about worry.
Mm,
So we're in our physical body, we're in the 3D world, we're in our mind, and in our, not so much our mind because that's air, but in our body. And now there's worry because now Mercury, the mind, starts to play. We get in our mind in this moment. And so that's when, for instance, we can start going round and round with worries about our health, worries about money, worries about our, natural disasters might happening. And that's where it's like a fear monger, this 5 of pentacles, which kind of comes in and goes, okay, what's going to make you feel unstable in your body? Well, the fear of losing your job, the fear of losing money, the fear of losing your house, the fear of losing your health. So we see this Mercury coming into Taurus, where Taurus is so rooted. And then when we have these two opposing thoughts going back and forth, it's very disruptive and can make a Taurus feel very out of sorts. But then when we move into the 6 of pentacles, it's moon in Taurus. So the moon, very feminine, Taurus, very feminine. So probably feeling a little bit better there. And it's really kind of a deep soul dive. And what we learn with the 6 of pentacles is how to let it go, right? We see in the 6 of pentacles, they're giving their money away. And that's truly being like a soulful approach, is reminding yourself that the Taurus, especially who's so in the 3D, it's so helpful to remind themselves, the bull, that there's a deeper purpose, and to trust that we can allow our, that the abundance comes from the flowing out as well as the flowing in. So it's releasing that fear, and that's that next step out of the 5, is tuning into the spiritual side of things and being able to trust, right? That Hierophant, once again, that Hierophant coming in and kind of saying, get in touch with what you believe. And then in the 7, we have Saturn, which Saturn is boundaries.
yep.
Saturn is boundaries. And so all of a sudden we have what they call failure. They call 7 of Pentacles failure, but it's a beautiful time because we can see how almost like in a progression we have the 5 where we're worried about things as we're trying to accumulate, but then we get to the point where we learn to let go, and then all of a sudden we learn how we've let go too far. And then if we were to move on to 8, we're not in Taurus anymore, but if we move on to 8, we would come to prudence, where we then hone it back and learn. So for the Taurus, it's a rough road of navigating the 3D world of where to stand your ground and when to give in.
I love that. I think I would love to have someone that is like Bree, to be able to have a conversation with what a Taurus feels like, um, to live a Taurus life and to live a spiritual path with a Taurus life, because I think it is something that could be really beautiful, but I think that there is a lot of challenge that comes along with a Taurus in their mind, and the constant inner conversations that you might have, the shadow side of a Taurus that might really talk yourself out of things, or have this like unnecessary worry, that's probably not true. That it probably is something that we just a made up worry, and then having not enough boundaries or too many boundaries. Like I'm really fascinated by what that would feel like. Because for
Mm.
me, I just feel like on an outward expression of seeing someone as a Taurus or Taurus people in my life, they have been, for me, they root me down, and which is something that I need. Like what we were saying is that I need that, but I think that their minds can probably get away from them a little bit too much sometimes.
I think so too. I think so too. It's all about embodiment, right? How do I embody this? And so they're always measuring themselves with these 3D truths, right?
Yeah.
Where do I live? How much money do I have? What do I look like? And so and then also having that stubbornness that it's hard to change and get into something new, but then also wanting to change, but then, and breaking free from the the definitions we put on ourself,
Mhm.
right? And that goal
Mhm.
of the Hierophant to say, I am not of my body. I am more than that. This is just what I'm playing with for now. And how beautiful Venus is to say, let me help you play, because Venus is the biggest player of them all, right? She just wants to be in her arts and her crafts and her musics and all of the beautiful things. So let's see what Stephen Forrest has to say, because Stephen
Yes, let's.
Forrest is amazing. So he calls the archetypes, he says, of the Taurus, the bull, would be the earth spirit, the musician, the silent one. So the symbol, exhausted by the fiery furnace of Aries, aren't we all? Consciousness seeks pools of cool water, the solace of ancient stones, the healing rustle of birdsong among green leaves. It seeks peace. It trades the, I don't know how to read this word, harangue. I don't know how to read. It trades the harangue for the symphony, passion for silence. I don't know what that word is. No longer incandescent with the fire of battle, spirit reaches gnarled hands into the earth, feeling for seeds, for clay, for the flesh of the planet itself. The symbol is a bull, not the enraged monster furious at the red flag of the matador, not the ferocious bull, but rather the tranquil one, standing solitary beneath a spreading April oak, quietly surveying the fearsome posturing of the ram. The bull, oh wait, quietly surveying the grass and sun, cattle and earth. Nothing frightens him. Gone is the fearsome posturing of the ram. The bull is so in control of his world, so far beyond fear, that fearlessness itself has become meaningless to him. The Aryan war has been won. Taurus is at peace.
Hmm.
And going back, if you guys listened to Aries, we were talking about how, I kind of thought about the birth of a child. That child pops out, it's the ring of fire, it's this big explosion. Oh my gosh, there's a baby here. And then it's all about calming down. Like there's such a restful period after that. It's about feeding that baby, getting that baby stable, getting the mama stable, nourishing, healing, and just being quiet and resting. And so it feels very in line with, the obviously I call it big circles, little circles. We've got the flow of the Zodiac Wheel. We have the flow of a life. We have the flow of the major arcana. It's all the same stuff. And that's why it's so important to recognize these cycles and the energies of the cycles, because when we can understand what the energies are, we can better process them for ourselves. And so, Taurus, I love how it sums it up of like, yes, it's not that bull wanting to fight, but just being content,
Yeah.
content.
Yeah, it's that steadfastness that I also, that beating of the drum. Like that is that warrior
Mm,
in that the stance. Like I just keep seeing that, just the
right.
stance of it,
Yes. If
solid.
if Aries were a person, he just fought, went to battle, and now it's time for him to take solace
Yeah,
and to rest.
I love
And
that.
then we'll figure out what Gemini's doing.
Oh my goodness.
Because now we have Gemini.
So we will be back again for another conversation in Gemini, but thank you for Taurus, for the earth element to show up and really ground us and nurture our hearts and our mind. And
Mm.
I'm just so grateful for this conversation and can't wait to dive into Gemini.
Okay, see you next time.
See you next time.